Hello and welcome back to the OTB channel. It's time for another ramble, and today we've got a range of different topics to cover. I'm going to do a channel update, a little bit on LBRY, which you can now find me on. I'm also going to be looking at some of the things I've been playing with in Kdenlive, switching the window manager in Marte to Openbox, and finally I'm going to talk a little about the new studio that's being built in my back garden, or has just been completed. Let's have the intro and then we'll have a chat. Okay, so welcome back to another ramble. I thought it was high time that we had a little bit of a catch-up and a natter about what I've been doing over the last 4 or 5 weeks since Christmas, really. And it's been a busy time. It's been a busy time with work, and I've only managed to put a video out on Saturday afternoons, which isn't really enough for me. I'd like to put 2 or 3 a week out, but unfortunately at the moment it's just not possible. However, I'm putting a great deal of thought into how the channel is going to develop in the future. But before we do that, let me just up here put a little pop-up that shows the different things that I'm going to cover during this video, and the timings, just in case you want to jump straight to that and not listen to me waffling on. Okay, so a few things have been happening recently. The channel's continued to grow at an alarming and very pleasing rate. This morning we're fast approaching 3.4 thousand views, or subscribers should I say, which for a Linux channel, which, let's face it, is a fairly niche channel that only has about 58, 59 videos up, we've done really well. Not quite sure what I've done that has made it do that, but, you know, thanks for all your support, guys. The comments that you leave on the videos are generally really positive, and thanks for that. I do read them. I tend to read them on block once on a Saturday and go through them, rather than doing them on a day-by-day basis, because I'm always on the road. And I get the odd troll, obviously. I think everybody in YouTube does. But most of the comments are actually quite useful. In amongst them, I get requests to do things, and I've started to make a pretty lengthy list of future content. So a lot of the future content you see from now on for the rest of the year will have been driven directly by things that you have asked for. So some of them are really quite interesting. Others haven't made the list. Someone asked me if I could do a Linux from scratch tutorial. I'm afraid that's a no. This channel isn't going to be one of those highly technical channels that looks at how to compile a distro from scratch. I'm more geared up for the desktop user, and I like my bling and my GUIs, and if it's easy to put together, I'm all for that. Although I don't mind digging under the hood. But in terms of Linux from scratch and even Gentoo, I can't see me ever actually doing it. As great as those distros might actually be, I wouldn't enjoy the process. So this is a hobby primarily, so it's not going to happen. But some of the comments that I've had have been quite interesting. I got one this morning that was a comment on last week's video and said, thanks very much, great video. Some constructive criticism, however. You do tend to waffle off on an awful long time, and you could probably be a bit more, I can't remember the words he used, but a little bit more concise and to the point. And you're absolutely right. I could waffle on for England and win prizes. And I have tried to keep my videos as concise as possible. However, I'm always torn by the fact that I like to have a conversation in my videos, and I'm generally going through a process of discovery myself. So they tend to be a little bit on the long side. I think 35, 40 minutes is about right. So the menu that I popped up a minute ago should help you move to the bits that you want to see and avoid the bits that you don't want to see. Let's start then with a little bit of an overall channel update in terms of LBRY. You must have, if you watch Linux YouTube channels, seen LBRY. It's a new platform out there based on the blockchain technology, and which means it's not on any single computer. I won't pretend that I know the technology, but it's distributed across a network. What that actually means is that it's controlled by the users, essentially. And a lot of YouTubers seem to have been switching across to it. Personally, I'm a latecomer to YouTube, so I know there's been many changes to YouTube's policies, but because I've joined so late, it is what it is, and it seems to be working for me. But not wanting to miss the boat, I thought, well, I might as well go on LBRY as well, because at the end of the day, mirroring my YouTube channel across to LBRY was trivial. I literally just had to fill in a couple of boxes and click OK, and it does it automatically. So I'm now on LBRY, and let me just show you my page. I'll move to the split screen here. So here we are. All my content is there, including the video that I published last week. I'll be honest, I'm not doing anything really with LBRY at the moment. I'm not promoting it. I'm not singing its praises. I'm just copying my content across and seeing what happens. You'll notice I only have 58 followers, so pretty pathetic, but that's down to me. I haven't really let people know about it. So in the information below this video, I'll include a link, and if you want to go and follow me, that would be great, guys. Thanks very much. It seems to be an interesting technology and one that has some promise. It can be monetized to a certain extent, but it's not like YouTube, which is based on adverts. It's based on watchers leaving a tip, and leaving a tip in LBRY credits. Now, LBRY credits are a cryptocurrency that you were awarded for doing various things on LBRY. So I think I got 90 LBRY credits when I mirrored my content across to LBRY. You can also get tips from users in LBRY credits. And yeah, I'm quite interested in the cryptocurrency side of things. How much it'll end up being worth, I don't know. But cryptocurrency, I think, is an interesting way to go about things. You can download all of those videos, by the way. And for me, this was, in fact, let me switch to my main cam now. For me, the ability to mirror my content and be able to download my videos if I needed to was one of the big pulls. I don't tend to keep my video library. I record my videos, I upload the videos, and then I delete them because I just haven't got the room. So to have a space in the cloud, if you like, where they're all there is useful, because you never know what YouTube's going to do in the future. They could close my channel, delete my content, so at least I know it's somewhere else where I can actually get to it. But what is a LBRY credit? Well, let's just move to this chart here. It's a little bit like Bitcoin in that it's based on blockchain technology. And what I'm showing here is the rises and falls of the currency over the last 12 months. As you can see, it's pretty volatile. Currently, it's worth, let me have a look, 0.0185 of a dollar per LBRY credit. So it's not worth a fortune. In fact, to give you an idea, I actually transferred some money out of LBRY credits into a wallet, which I'll talk about shortly. And I transferred 215 LBRY credits into a wallet, and it came to a grand total of £2.94. So you're not going to get rich with LBRY as it is at the moment. But for me, it wasn't about the money. It was an opportunity to play around with some cryptocurrency. You can, of course, you don't have to keep your LBRY credits in the LBRY interface. You can actually transfer them out. And LBRY are recommending a wallet, an open source wallet called Coinomi. So I installed this. I sent over my LBRY credits to Coinomi, and I'm keeping them separately. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I just wanted to see if I could do it. My original idea was, well, let's throw some LBRY credits out and see if I can send them to a wallet of my choice, and then let's see if I can convert them to cash. And I thought I might do that by first perhaps converting them over to one of the more common cryptocurrencies, such as Bitcoin. Unfortunately, exchanging these credits seems to be a little bit problematic at the moment. Many of the exchanges need you to have a certain amount, and 1,100 credits seems to be the minimum they'll accept. So I haven't really had a chance to test that out as such yet. But it's an interesting idea, and it fired me up, and it got me thinking about cryptocurrency in general. And it was one of those things that emerged however many years ago, and I remember looking at it a decade ago and thinking, I wonder if I should actually invest in that. And I didn't, because I thought, oh, you know, you never know what it's going to be like. But by taking that very non-risk approach, I think I probably lost out. So as a direct result of looking at LBRY and their LBRY credits, I decided to open myself up a Coinbase account and play around with it a little bit. And yeah, I've been playing around, not with a huge amount of money, I have to say. I've bought £5 worth of Bitcoin, £5 worth of Ethereum, £5 worth of Bitcoin Cash, £5 worth of Litecoin, and £5 worth of Tezos. And let me go back to the cam. And over the last week or so, and I've been watching the price go like that. I suppose you could make money if you were serious, but for me, it's just interesting how this technology is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's still incredibly volatile. I like Coinbase, by the way, because it provides a really easy way to just buy a $5's worth of Bitcoin or whatever using a credit card, and you can convert it to cash quite simply as well. In fact, if you'd like to get yourself an account and have a play, I'll leave a link down there as well. So I'm now on LBRY, guys. It would be great if you can follow me. I can't say I'm going to spend much time there, but it could well be the platform of the future, and a lot of the Linux channels seem to be moving there. Right, next up, one of my viewers left a comment on after one of my videos saying that they run Debian stable, and they'd read a couple of articles online about how to replace Debian Marte's default window manager, which is Marco, with Openbox, and they were struggling. The articles that they'd come across online, well, let me take you to one of them through the split screen, was this article, replace the Marte window manager with Openbox. And essentially what it tells you to do is to install Openbox from whatever repo that you're actually using, and then to use the dconf editor and make a few changes. Okay, so based on this, let me take you to my full screen. I installed the dconf editor, and apparently what I needed to do was to go to org.mate.session and then click on the required components section and basically change where it said window manager as the default value to Openbox. So I had a go at this, and unfortunately I logged out and couldn't get back in, so had to get this back to standard. And one of the reasons that I think this was the case was because unfortunately Debian stable tends to use quite an old version of dconf editor. It uses older versions of most applications, in fact. And on the screenshots that they show, it seems to be a nice, simple, straightforward method of simply going to the required components section, and then another box should come up, another little window, and you can put Marco in there. Okay, well, it didn't work for me. But not one to be beaten, I went over to the Arch wiki. Even though this is Debian, I find the Arch wiki really useful. And what it told me to do was to use gsettings and to apply this command to change my window manager to Openbox after I'd installed it, obviously. To run a further few settings to make sure that I don't show desktop icons. Apparently that's essential if you want to switch over to Openbox in Marte. And interestingly enough, it also gave me an option to add something into the Startup Applications menu. Now, initially, I didn't look at the Startup Applications menu. I simply ran this command, I logged out, I logged back in, and it worked sort of. Sort of's probably about the best thing that I can say about it. It almost looked as if Openbox was struggling to maintain control of the desktop. So it was then that I moved back to the Arch wiki page, and I saw this entry about adding something to Marte's auto start menu. Let me go back to the screen and I'll show you what I've actually put in. So if I go to the Startup Applications menu, I added in an extra here, and I added in the command Openbox space -- replace, which should actually make sure that Openbox replaces any other window manager at the point where you log in. And guys, this seemed to do the trick, and it has worked. And you can see my desktop now in front of you, my Marte desktop, with my Planck dock still here, which is acting as my window list, so I can open and close my browser. But I've also got the Openbox right-click menu. I've played around with this a little bit. There are some configuration files in your .config Openbox directory, and that's how you play with it. and I've added the LXDE menu to it, which gives me more of a graphical menu than was there originally. It's already added a Debian menu, but I think that's a lot easier to work my way around. OBConf I installed, which is almost like an appearance tool for playing with Openbox. And yeah, I also managed to add a couple of little entries to allow me to suspend, reboot, shut down, or straightforward log out. And it seems to be working quite nicely. So you can get Openbox working with Marte on Debian stable. The question is, would you want to? I think I'm probably going to switch back to the Marco window manager within Marte, because there are a few problems with Openbox. I found with this dual display setup that I've got here, that when I'm dragging windows across and doing something, they're not staying where they're meant to be, and they're not resizing properly. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. But it sparked my interest in Openbox. And I think what I'm going to do, now that I've installed Openbox, is I'm going to switch this back to Marco. I'm then going to have a go at configuring Openbox from scratch on its own without any desktop environment. It looks interesting, and there's loads of customization available. So, yeah, I've been doing that, and I hope that answers your question, by the way, the viewer who asked how this could be done. The trick seems to be getting that entry in the start menu. So that's Openbox in Marte. So what else have I been doing? Oh, yeah. My boss at work, I don't know how, but he found my channel. He's not a Linux enthusiast, so pass. But he said to me, he said, "Oh, I've seen your videos, Steve." He said, "Would you be prepared to produce something for us?" I won't say what industry I work in, on the basis that it's good to keep some things private, but I broadly work in the training industry, and he asked if I could produce some training videos over the next month or so. So I said, yeah, great. All the better working from home and working on Linux. And he asked for a few things that I haven't actually played with before, and that was animated pop-ups. And so I've been having a go, and I'm constantly amazed at Kdenlive, at how it can produce basic animations so easily. You may remember from my early videos, I was playing about initially with Kdenlive, with Shotcut, with Olive, and I settled on Openbox for a while. But I drifted back into Kdenlive, and I have to say I think I'd find it really difficult to move from it now, because I've got so used to Kdenlive and what it can do that I'd have to change that famous thing, my workflow, if I moved over to something else, which in a way is a shame, because I believe the latest version of OpenShot can actually hardware render, which Kdenlive can't really do at the moment, so it takes quite a long time. But I thought I'd show you some of the little animation-y things I've been doing in Kdenlive and how you do these. So you should now see in front of you my Kdenlive, and I've got a couple of clips saved up to the project bin up here. So one of those clips is a small video that I've made of my new studio cabin, whatever you want to call it. Let's just get it into place. There we go. I've turned off the sound because it's pretty awful. So what do I do if I want a pop-up to appear on this video? Well, I've got a PNG image here, which I've just called test ping. And if I go across and play that, fine. The image shows at a size that is relative to the video itself. Now, I don't want it that size, and I want it to pop up from the bottom and then go down again. So how I do this is really simple. I highlight the PNG file, I right-click and select Insert an Effect, Transform, and you'll see in the top right here, there is now a red box around the video preview. I can now resize that image by grabbing one of these tags on the corner, and if I click on the cross, I can actually move it to different parts of the screen. So, with that done, let's just have a look at where we are now. So rather than one big image, the test PNG is just overlaid on the video. So far so good. But what I want to do is I want to have that image pop up and then pop down at the end. So the way I do that is in the transformation properties dialog. You'll see here along the top of it, it's got a timeline. And right at the beginning, it's got a little tiny diamond, which is the start of the keyframe. Well, I want to create another few diamonds. I want to create one right at the end, so I move that right to the end and I click the plus there. I then want to create another marker a few seconds in from the beginning, and I want to create another marker a few seconds away from the end. Okay, so at the moment it's done nothing to the image itself. As you can see, I can click on any of those markers and it is where it is. However, if I click on the very first marker now, and I go over to the preview and I drag this all the way down, you'll see if I click on the second marker, it's up. On the second marker, it's down. If I then go over to the third marker and I check it's still up, and I go on to the fourth marker, I'm going to drag it down again. And let me just play that clip to you. And there it is popping up. And there it is popping down. It's literally as simple as that. So the markers indicate at which position you want the image to be. So I wanted the image to be very much at the bottom at the beginning, then rising up to that point, staying at that point all the way to number 3, and then at 4, disappearing. So that's Kdenlive. I'm really enjoying playing with some of the effects, and it's a great piece of software given that it's free. I wish they'd do hardware rendering, but there you go. So what else? We're nearly at the end now. Some of you may remember that I moved into our new house back in January, and there was one of the reasons we bought the house was that it was a nice little cabin at the bottom of the garden. Unfortunately, it suffered a catastrophe and burnt down around May. And it's taken until a couple of weeks ago for the work to be completed and for it to be rebuilt. Most of the delay has been down to the insurance company, as I'm sure you can imagine. So I thought I'll show you where I'm up to and I'll create a little video. And a few weeks ago, I bought myself a bit of a a GoPro knockoff. Probably not right to call it a GoPro knockoff. A little action cam. It's a Campark X30. And I've been testing it, and I'm not impressed, really. I don't think the video quality is that good, and the audio is dreadful. So But I used it nonetheless, and I've taken a quick video of the cabin. I've had to get rid of the audio and replace it with audio that I've recorded on my iPhone with a little lavalier mic with a dead cat on the top of it, which still isn't brilliant, but believe me, it's 10 times better than what the Cam Park produced. Where we are at the moment, the structure of the cabin is up. I need some money to sort it out and to get it fitted out, so it's going to be a few months before I move in. Having said that, the weather's dreadful at the moment, so I'm not sure I want to be going down there just yet. But hopefully around the summertime, I'll be setting up my my new studio. Studio's a little bit far-fetched, because it won't just be used for me, it'll be used for a number of things. But I thought I'd show you a video of how it's progressing. So I thought I'd give you all a look at the completed cabin, which hopefully is going to be my studio. Let's just walk in and I'll show you where we've got to. I've avoided looking at the garden because we've had some pretty horrible weather this week, and we've lost a few fence panels. But if I just pan around, you can see the space that I've got, which is pretty empty at the moment. We've got a couple of settees in here which need to be placed, but other than that, it's essentially a blank canvas for me to sort out. We have a small kitchen unit here, and you can see I've got a power line cable there, a Devolo Magic power line cable, which seems to be doing the job actually. We only get about 30 megs at the house, and it's a good 100 foot away, probably about 150 actually. I seem to be getting 26 megs with this. This little cabin has even got its own bathroom and shower. So, yeah. Oh, and central heating. So I'm all set really. All I need now is the money to finish it off with furniture. We've got the main bits and pieces here, so watch this space, guys. So that's the new studio, and I apologise for the audio quality there. So you can see how it's coming on, and hopefully around the summer I can move everything into there, and it should be quite a nice space to work in, and I'm sure my wife will be pleased to get me out of the house, out of this spare room I'm working in at the moment. So that's the waffle for today. Hope you've enjoyed it. This is about all I have to ramble about today, and I know it's gone on a little while, but I'll see you next week with something else, and have a great week, everyone. Cheers.